He sneaks that on us, doesn't he?
He does. He does. By the way,
my butt will not be seen though on camera this week.
I think we
good.
saw it already as you walked in. So I've been telling you my voice. It sounds like Lou Rawls. It's not that I'm sick.
Barry White.
Oh, Barry White. It's not that I'm sick. I went out to a restaurant last night.
You told me.
And but I'm telling our behind the scenes, behind
before
the
behind the media.
Right. I'm explaining why my voice is like this is because it was a very loud restaurant, and so I had to raise my voice to be heard, and in the process, I lost my voice in a restaurant.
But you know how to use your voice in a loud restaurant.
Well, but
that's a skill.
Yeah, I did not do that last night. Last night I was unbridled conversation. And I didn't even know it. Like I kept getting louder and louder and louder. And then when I came out, I realized, wow, I turned to my wife and it's silent.
I just thought of a great invention.
What is that?
And because I go out with octogenarians sometimes, people in their 80s who have trouble with their hearing. It can be very tough to communicate with people, right?
Oh, yes, definitely, yes.
So why not give them a set of headphones and some kind of an amplifier on each table? I
said that last night.
Although I didn't get rid of all the outside. In other words, it clears the outside noise,
right,
and allows you to just pick up what's at your table.
Yeah, we talked about that, except that felt a little, sort of intrusive. You got to wear this stuff while you're eating food, which is kind of weird. But I said, wouldn't it be great if there were some kind of invention where the table itself had some acoustical channeling,
baffling, stuff.
But it's some way that your voice, like in St.
Louis. Don't you think it'll be easier if you had a set of headsets?
I don't want to eat dinner at a fancy restaurant with headsets on. It's not going to work for me. Just not going to work.
Even if it means hearing. Wait a second. Even if it means hearing me from across the table.
No, I'm not going to do it.
I'm listening to you here now. I don't have my headphones on, but
but I do, and I don't like it. Stand in front of a mic. That's fine. All of a sudden, you're out in public.
All right.
There's this place in I think it's the library in St. Louis where you can go over in the corner. There's the way that the building was constructed.
Yep.
50 yards away, you can just whisper into the corner, and someone on the other side can hear you. So some kind of acoustical.
We need an audio engineer
to make it
create this. But
something.
It seems to me there's quite a market for it based on.
Oh yes, because
and especially
look what happened to my voice.
Especially between 4:30 and 6:30.
Yes,
when it's the time. What do they call that? The Blue Hair Special or something?
Something like that.
Something like that.
By the way, you know what you're reading for that? Because I didn't write it.
I wrote it. The obscenity one.
Yeah, you wrote it.
I wrote it.
Okay, good. No, don't give it away.
I'm not going to give it away.
Okay,
but let's get going. So now people are worried. What's he going to say?
Okay, hit it, Steve.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks and in the field, they've seen and covered it all. And now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an educator...
Oh, I'm embracing it.
I want you to use the phone to help teach these kids.
You don't need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or
no, not a gong, a bong.
A bong.
With a B.
So that's right. Did I say
the
gong?
Gong is a
that's
gong
right.
show.
I said gong.
Gong
bong.
makes noise.
Bong.
Okay.
Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan.
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is. You have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying, which one do you want to be? Marriage made in big media. AT&T gets the green light to gobble up Time Warner. Who are the winners and who are the losers?
And who will get divorced first? Hey, what is obscene? F-bombs at the Tonys, gestures at the World Cup. Bleep off, people. English takes a beating.
World Cup mania is in full effect. Why big media is seeing big dollar signs.
And bites behind the media quick hits if some of the other stories people are buzzing about, including new phrases that have been embraced by the Oxford Dictionary and the scaling raccoon that went viral.
What's wrong with your eyes?
Because I really didn't know when I was going to read this. Move over, Rocky Raccoon. The scaler goes viral.
Oh, my goodness. Warning, this program may be too informative for your health. Consult your doctor. and listen with care. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting, the funny in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Park Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littleparkmedia.com or contact info@littleparkmedia.com. So it's been happening more and more. We saw it with back. I think it was 2013 when NBC was scooped up by
2009.
No, when they were scooped up by Comcast,
NBC.
and NBC.
Right.
Exactly.
My bad.
That's okay.
It happens a lot.
Now Comcast is hungry for more, aiming for Fox. It's a fight against Disney. Meanwhile, in this ongoing soap opera, AT&T finally got the green light from the courts to buy Time Warner. So the question, Jimmy, is this good or bad? There are winners and losers in these kinds of things.
As long as it's not Sinclair Broadcasting Group, I'm actually pretty happy about this merger. No.
Why? No, why?
Well, because it's really, we've talked about how it isn't about the content creation and the advertisers. It's really about advertisers wanting the information about the consumer that's watching it.
And so you're saying that by getting everything under one roof, there's more
information
value
for the advertisers.
So there's value for everybody.
Right. And I want to make sure people understand this. Just because you're sitting there watching an event or a program, and then you have a choice. You don't have a choice about what you see as a commercial.
Right.
What they're trying to do is change that so that they can say, oh, this household has a combined income of $75,000. They're college educated. They drive American cars, and they send their children to college so that they can get into debt.
Yeah, way too much. I don't want them to know any of that about me.
But they do.
I know, but I don't. I don't want them to use it.
So I'm going to guess that there's going to be an opt-in or opt-out.
Right.
Do you want to see the advertisements that are geared towards for you or to the general public? In fact, you can do that now on some websites, on the internet. Right. So I'm going to guess that feature, if you will, is going to be coming to that TV that used to be, 3 networks. Yeah. And the newspaper. So those were the old days. So it ain't happening anymore.
No, it isn't. So one of the big issues and the concerns.
What are you concerned about?
Well, this has been a concern, I think, of some of the folks out there when this was being talked about, and then the announcement was made, and they were waiting to find out if the courts would approve it. Was when you have a company scooping up a network that happens to be a news organization. So the first question that always comes up is, what kind of influence will a big corporate monster have over a news organization? Or what kind of, like CNN? And
Sinclair.
What kind of political sway could they have? Yeah, and you bring it up, Sinclair. So, are there concerns? Are they, now you're looking at who's an executive at AT&T? Have they donated to Republicans, to Democrats? How will that play an influence over the cable network, right? And this is just a slice of the overall deal, but it's something that has been concerning, I think, from folks when they hear of this kind of gobbling up. I don't know that I can say, well, yeah, this is going to be a problem in this area, but it certainly is a concern of mine. Because you can't help but think that there will be there's a reason that they're doing it. It's about money. Yes, it's about spreading into all different aspects of media. But could it somehow be eating away at some of the independence of news organizations?
Not only the independence of news organizations, but how about the independence of the human being with the ability to make up his or her own mind about how they feel about things that are going on in the world.
Right.
And again, you don't like the term brain hacking, but there is definitely now more control, and I hope we'll get into Google a little bit too, about how these internet companies, and by the way, if you don't like the invasion of your privacy, if you don't like the fact that Big Brother knows what you're watching, where you're watching, what you make, who you like, who you don't like, stop using your phone.
Yeah, but
turn it off.
Yeah, but the problem
turn off all those notifications.
But the problem is that now, as you get deeper and deeper into these bigger ownerships of all aspects of the medium, you can't turn things off so easily. Because now you turn this off, but they get you over here because it's all flowing through the same company. And I think so. In addition to the independence that you're losing, I think perhaps there's some danger of the independence that's lost in the news organization. I think there's some independence in terms of the kinds of information that a company can get on you because these big companies now are involved in all aspects of it. So you can't turn it off.
You know, you can. Well, you have that right.
Well,
you absolutely,
but it virtually becomes impossible for you to turn it off. Okay, I'm going to turn this off, or I'm not going to use this. But you know what? They're running the refrigerator in my house. You know, they are in my car. They own the movies. They own the movie theater chain. They own the advertising company. They own it's
not going to
down.
change, Dan.
Well, no, it's
long
not
after
change.
We're gone.
No.
They're going to have more control.
No, I get
they're
that.
already. This is a great quote. Of course, I'm doing research, right?
No, thank you.
And I love this quote. Okay, and you know, I'm still fascinated by the term brain hacking.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so this is a quote from a former. And by the way, I didn't even know that there's something called a design ethicist.
Oh no, I didn't either. What does that person do?
A handful of people working at a handful of tech companies steer the thoughts of billions of people every day, notes former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris. A recent study of 10,000 people from 39 countries suggests that Google has likely been determining the outcomes of upwards of 25% of the national elections in the world for several years now, with increasing impact each year as internet penetration has grown. Yeah. That's a very scary thought.
So what are you saying now?
Free society doesn't exist anymore.
So you're saying that Google then, as we're seeing these various different companies merging, buying each other out, whatever you want to call it,
and they're all using Google,
that they're all now getting more control over our lives by this growth that we're seeing.
Whether
it's Google, or whether it's Comcast or Verizon or
yes.
whoever it might be.
Right? I mean, yes.
Yeah, well, no,
it's a until there's a cloaking device.
What cloaking device?
That's Harry Potter.
Isn't
that Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Isn't that Harry Potter?
It sounded like something from the biblical days where you put on a cloak of some sort.
Yeah, the magic cloak from Harry Potter.
Okay.
Until you get to the point where you can cloak or what's the plane that you can't see? Stealth bomber. Until you become stealth, right? Mm-hmm. We're basically an open book to the world.
No, and I get that, but
it's not going the other way, Dan.
It's not going away, but here's my other concern. Now we've talked about the fact that these big companies merging, buying each other out, perhaps takes away independence from news organizations that are getting scooped up. We haven't really seen a lot of that with the NBC Universal and Comcast. There has not been that aspect of it, but those concerns have been there. There's the concern about getting so big and being in all aspects of media that now they can control everything. Your thoughts. But then there's also the issue of cost. Part of what makes America great is having competition. And when you have, a shoe store on one corner and a shoe store on another corner, they have fights with each other as to who can have the lowest prices, the best sales, and I think the consumer benefits. And my fear is that the bigger companies get, the less we will see of the deals, of the possible deals that we can get, because there's no reason to give us a deal when they own everything.
Correct.
So, Jimmy,
there's always
always looking for a deal.
I am. I love deals.
Right. And so you're not going to get those deals under these big mergers. I don't think, there's still competition, as you pointed out. But the bigger they get, the less competition there is, because, it's still named X company, but it's owned by, Y company.
Right.
So different name, same company. Why do they have to, lower the prices and make a good deal for you?
Because ultimately you won't pay the higher prices. I mean,
But
again, it's a free enterprise.
Where are you going to go? If they own everything, you have nowhere to go. You know, we saw that with the airline industry, right? As they got bigger and bigger and bigger.
They're the monopolies. We're talking
right.
about media monopolies. We're talking about information monopoly.
And that's why you have the courts that look at these things to make sure that is there going to be an issue. And I think that the courts are becoming more and more lenient because there's a lot of political pressure for a lot of these things to slide through because it makes good, Wall Street sense or, long-term viability sense, however you wanted to frame it. But it is still a concern that when they get so big, it hurts the consumer. And they kind of put it under this thing of, it's great for you, Mr. Consumer, Mrs. Consumer, because you're going to get all of this stuff in one place. I don't know if that's always the case.
No, I don't either. And there's a great example. Again, I go back to Google. By the way, did you know that Google had, this won't surprise you,
Right.
but it did surprise me about the percentage of search. 91% of all search is owned by Google.
Yeah, that doesn't. Who else? Bing?
Well, that's it. That's what I said. Bing. I didn't even know some of the Yahoo. Of course, we'd heard of.
Yeah,
and at one point, and it wasn't that long ago. I believe it was back in 1998, which I guess was a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
Yikes. Okay. Yeah. Fortune magazine had this headline that said, "How Yahoo has won the search wars."
Oh, yeah.
In
too early.
98.
Yeah.
And so it was a long time ago, that we even had search back then. And now, of course, it's completely changed. But, going back to Google, they were fined. And the European Union, by the way, does a better job of fining these tech giants than the United States does. The European, I believe Google has already paid like $2.7 billion in fines to the European Union for digressions, for things that they've done wrong, for owning the marketplace. They're getting fined basically for owning the marketplace.
Well, I mean, you try, and that's the issue. Before these things are usually approved, you go through and you say, okay, is this going to present an unfair advantage for this company and snuff out competition, which in the end will hurt consumers. Well, and these things are vetted, but it seems as if every time you're waking up, there's a big, marriage that is being announced. And now, of course, as we talked about here, there are others in the pipeline, and billions of dollars at stake here. For companies that are already big to get even bigger.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's speculation that Google perhaps has gotten as big as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, and here, everybody, we talk about Google, and I think if you talk about Google, you do have to mention Amazon at the same time, because there was a time where you would use Google, and there's still people who do this, and probably me, when you're looking for a product to buy or search about and learn about, you don't necessarily just go to Google. In fact, more and more people are going to Amazon to search for that product, to see the pricing, to see the reviews, to see the information that you can get about that product. And Amazon has moved into that space. So again, another example of how the free market has kind of allowed things to work out on its own, as opposed to being regulated and pushed and controlled. Because there's that fine line, Dan, between controlling information and then letting the free flow happen.
I get that, and we shouldn't put a barrier up. Every time there's an announcement or a desire for these companies to merge or to take on some bigger aspect of society. But I do think that we can't just, turn a blind eye to the fact that we might be hurting ourselves in the long term, because I think prices may go up. There may be more information that companies can gather about us, these media companies, because they're involved in so many aspects of it. These are valid concerns, and or the news organization, there may be maybe we can't point our finger to exactly the kind of influence that they're having, but behind the scenes, behind the media, there is some kind of a fingerprint there from, the corporate folks into, channeled into what you end up seeing in your news. So I think
they're hacking your brain.
Right. So the argument for me is more of, let's all pay attention to this. I don't want people to run to the hills and say, oh no, the world's coming to an end. But I think we need to pay attention. We can't ignore the possibility that what is happening now may not be a good thing. It's not just about a great bottom line and billions of dollars and stock prices going up. Consumers could be hurt in the long run.
And consumers always pay in the long run. That's why they're called consumers. They
Yes.
consume.
They consume.
They consume.
But they should not be abused.
Or they should be free thinkers. They
Yeah.
should be skeptical about everything that they read, see, and hear about, because you're a human being. You have that right to be a free thinker.
That's right. Think about how those big guys are influencing everything you see and everything you read.
That's right.
And it's only going to get worse.
No, it definitely is.
Ugh.
It could be.
Yeah. If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Have questions or comments. Let us know at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. The bell, second quarter. Here we go.
Goal! Sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
I'm a soccer nut.
You are a soccer nut. Oh, my goodness. I like soccer, but we'll be talking about that later. Anyway, potty mouth and middle fingers. What's going on, everybody? Hello. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand that Jimmy wears quite often. Not today. Or maybe today.
Well, first of all, how would you know?
Because you didn't talk about it.
Oh,
Not that I was
and you just think just because I'm wearing, I have a Mack Weldon's that I always talk about it when I'm wearing my Mack Weldon's.
You didn't talk about it today, so I figured you probably weren't wearing it. But maybe
not
you
in
are.
the rotation. I only have 3 pair.
Okay, you got to get it up to 5. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So, Jimmy, you saw all of this garbage going on.
Well, because I actually pay attention to what goes on in the media, Dan. I don't go into a hole sometimes like you do. You go into your family hole.
I go into the family hole.
Which is, by the way, a very respectful hole to go into.
It is.
We have
we have lots of little tunnels.
Yes, you do.
You know, and we have piles of dirt.
That's right.
There and
trails. Don't the kids always leave trails?
They're
Come on.
always trails. And sometimes, there's sometimes a little bark and stuff get in there. But it's wonderful little underground tunnels that we hibernate into on a regular basis.
By the way, Dan, you're not the only one who missed this.
Yes.
Our director, Steve Helmuth, also missed this. And yet, something like 3.5 billion people now have seen this and heard about this or saw it live.
So let's start with the first one, the middle finger. What happened with the digits?
Okay, so there's a UK pop star named Robbie Williams, by the way.
Never heard of him.
Painfully unhip. I've never heard of him either.
Robbie Williams, I thought, was like a country singer from back in the 50s.
And, of course, the first time I look at anything that's Robbie Williams, I'm thinking of the late, great Robin Williams, who was one of my all-time great, but it was not that hero, but I love. No, it was not.
No. So this guy,
he basically, in the middle of his spiel before the World Cup, the World Cup's a major sporting event.
It is,
and similar to the Super Bowl in this country. They have big pomp and circumstance and the pregame show and all this stuff. And I guess Robbie Williams was the headliner. He, like I said, he was a UK pop singer. Known around the world by billions of people, I guess, except for us.
Well, let's take it back.
Basically,
999 million.
In part of his lyrics was referring to the fact that he was doing this performance for free.
Okay.
And he decided to basically look at the camera at that moment and claim, well, let's just say he didn't use his pinky and he didn't use his thumb.
Right.
So the finger that might be in the middle of that is what he used to basically say, hey, you didn't pay me because, after all, I am number one.
So he basically gave the one finger salute.
Correct.
Okay.
The one finger salute to the entire world because 3.2 billion people watched the opening game of the World Cup. That's just, if you think about the fact that the most watched television show every year in the United States, for the most part, majority, is the Super Bowl. 130 million people, I think, is the record for a Super Bowl. And I think the Patriots, chances are the Patriots were in one of those.
Yeah, most likely.
Chances are, because you either love them or hate them. Anyway, that being said, it's a party. It's when social sports fans like yourself tune into a sporting event.
And here he does the obscene gesture.
An obscene gesture.
Okay, so then
course, live, not bleeped out.
Okay.
No delay. I think we talked about this delay thing.
Right.
on the Tony Awards
earlier
this
also
week.
Did not catch. Yes. Who is Tony, by the way? No, I know who. I do know. That's a joke.
Do you know who Tony is?
I don't know who Tony.
Who they named the award after?
Actually, I don't know.
I don't know the. I don't know.
I thought you knew the answer.
No, I didn't.
It's not Tony Danza.
No. Or Tony Bennett.
No, it isn't.
I don't know who the Tony is.
It's not Tony Romo.
And I don't know. It's not. So now we need to reach out, call the audience,
and find out.
And
right.
reach out.
Let us know how the
origin.
Anyway,
origin
what happened at the Tonys?
So Robert De Niro,
yes.
A classic actor,
yeah.
very respected, very liberal, one of my heroes. Okay. Was introducing Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen's on Broadway, by the way, a ticket that you cannot get.
No, you can't.
Well, I'm going to try.
People of our generation still love him.
That's right. As opposed to Robbie Williams. We have no clue.
No, but billions probably like him, yes.
Anyway, comes out to introduce Bruce Springsteen to sing a song. And basically Robert De Niro said, bleep Trump.
Yeah. Using the F word.
Yes, he used that F word again.
Right.
And everybody in the audience, first of all, was
and it's
shocked.
not fantastic. That's not what he used.
No, he did not use fantastic.
Right.
But everybody stood up and cheered, and it was an incredible event. And the Tony Awards is on delay.
Yeah, so they bleeped it.
They were able to take, well, there's no bleep. It was just silence.
Right.
Where is why didn't they bleep it, by the way? Why can't they figure out a way to get a bleep in there or beep or something?
Or they could have just inserted gold.
There you go. They could have had gold going. Anyway, it caused a lot, needless to say, a live event when you drop an F-bomb, as they refer to this word. It always gets people upset. Now, granted, this was, by the way, around 10:30, 10:45 at night, near the end of the Tony Awards. Certainly past that magic time of 9 p.m. when they think that all kids are asleep.
Right.
And by the way, we just talk about this word for a second. We know it's a horrible word. It's adult language. Okay?
Right, but
hang on. Adult language.
Yes.
Okay. You're gonna tell me that for the most part, kids don't know what that word is?
No, well, kids know a lot of things, but you don't talk about it.
No, they learn it from us.
Yes, but you don't talk about this stuff in public. And what annoys me now is that, okay, it isn't new that these things are being done.
They're doing it far more often, Dan.
They are doing it far more often. And it just seems as if, and what really troubled me about the Tony Awards is that people gave it a standing ovation. And I think that there's a lack of decorum that we're seeing now played out across media at these events. There are things that are being said with frequency that would not be said, where these Hollywood stars who used to say things certainly have always said some crazy things, but now they feel free. It's like open season to flip people off and to say derogatory things in front of a national audience.
And whose fault is that?
Well, it's society's fault.
Okay.
It's where society is going.
The leader of the free society is the one who's stirring the pot.
Yes,
and you cannot tell me he's not, because you know he is.
No, but
he's empowered people to hide behind Twitter, to not be afraid of saying horrible, horrific, racist, bullying things all the time, and it's created this movement.
Yeah. No, you're right, Jimmy. Yeah. We could always just say it's Donald Trump's fault. But here's the problem, Jimmy.
I usually do.
Here is the problem.
What's the problem,
As
Dan?
we were preparing for this show,
yes,
and we were talking about this, I tried to get you to understand that just because there's a bully who is throwing stones and calling names and creating an environment that is like that doesn't mean that we have to respond the same way. If everybody is speeding on a highway and breaking the law, you don't say, well, everybody's breaking the law, I'm going to go ahead and break the law. And I know you do.
Wait a second.
I know you do.
What are you talking about? That's the American way. You try to push the envelope to see what you can get away with.
If you're living in a community where people, for example, after big hurricanes and people going in loot a place, everybody's looting, it's open season, let me go ahead and loot. No, we don't have to lower ourselves to the low standards that are all around us now in society. No matter, you can sit there and you can point the finger and say, oh, it's because of this person. But just because of that doesn't mean that we have to take to social media or use a live broadcast of an honorable Tony Awards. Man, is it honorable? I don't know.
Is.
But the Tony Awards, or while you're performing in front of billions of people for a sporting event, we don't need to go to the low watermark. Although that's the low watermark is a good thing, isn't it?
No, it's a drought.
It's a drought. No,
drought's not a good thing.
Well, but in a flood, if the water goes down, that's a good thing.
In that particular case, yes.
Okay, so we don't have to go below the belt. We don't have to go to the low standards that are around us in society.
You'd like to think that.
We need to take the high road.
I believe, I'm not going to disagree with you in that you, to lower yourself to the level of the obnoxious, racist, bullying, the poisonous vitriol that is out there.
Right.
Okay. I don't think that is going to help it.
Right.
I don't think it's going to help it. I don't think it's going to help it go away. We know that words hurt, but there's a difference. You mentioned property between destructive behavior and hurtful behavior.
No, look, there's a difference, and I was using that as just an example of we don't have to follow the crowd. And it just seems that every awards thing that happens now or across social media. It's the same thing as the
NFL. It's the same thing with the national anthem with the NFL. Well, yeah. Eyes are on this event, and people are using it for their own agenda.
Right.
Okay.
And you know what? And if people want to use it for their own agenda to make a political statement or whatever, fine, have at it. When you make the left turn into using vulgar language,
I'm sorry,
or
he's
vulgar
lost
hand
that
signal,
right. He is the first president who has lost that right.
But no, it has nothing to do with it, Jimmy. We can't sit there and blame someone else for the actions that people are taking now just because they say, oh, it's open seat. We can now do this because the president has said things or done things that we believe are wrong. Okay, let's just do it now. Let's go ahead. We need to, as human beings, go back to a certain kind of decorum that we used to have, where you're not flipping people off on national television and you're not using, derogatory, really bottom of the bucket kind of language to describe, even if you don't like the president. I think you have to, there's a certain way that you need to conduct yourself, number one. And
if he conducted himself that way, but he doesn't. But he has lost the right for that, Dan. I'm sorry.
I still think that's not where we should be going.
I don't think we should be going there either. He brought us there.
And for an audience to stand up and to be seen by millions on television applauding something like that shows how far we have gone. And I don't think that's a good thing.
I don't think it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I think you do think it's
a
good thing.
I think it's
you're joining there. You'll flip people off on TV.
I don't like TV. First of all, I don't. You've known me now for over a year now. Right. I don't use the F word that often. When I get really upset, sometimes I do.
And I'm not saying that people don't have the right to use the F word or whatever it may be. When you're on national television, be respectful. You can be funny, you can be political, whatever it is, but don't go. Don't go there. You don't have to go there all the time.
I get it, and I think it has a lot to do with, again, the fact that we have become empowered as a modern society to do whatever the heck we want to do in a free speech environment.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. I'm just saying that I think explains the atmosphere, the environment that's been created here in this country lately, that we don't care anymore about that.
Exactly. And that's wrong. And it's time for people to grow up. And they need
I think
to start
they need
caring.
an example. They need someone to set an example.
You know
and
what,
if
though?
the leader of the free world cannot set that example, what do you expect to have happen?
We're grown-ups. If they're children up there doing that, we can say, you know what, they're young, they don't know.
They are doing
These
that.
are grown-ups who are acting like they're kids, and they need to be more respectful when they are in the public, arena, when they're at a big event. They need to take that into consideration. Yeah, kids, you can argue the point of, kids hear worse than that on the school bus. Yeah, that's right. But there comes a point where you can't make excuses and you can't point the finger and say, because this is going on, it's okay for me to do this. You got to rise above it.
What if, instead of using the F word,
he
came out and said, bleep Trump?
It's not as bad, but it's still something that I don't think you should be doing.
But they've been using the
you can get up there and say,
years.
I don't agree with this, or I think this is wrong, or I think this person is taking us in the wrong direction. Or you get out there, instead of flipping something off, you can find a way to say something powerful without going to 4-letter words or middle fingers.
I happen to think that is the easy way out.
It is.
Well,
they do it in traffic all the time.
But we do it. Yes, we do.
When you cut somebody
we're
off,
raw. Because our emotions are raw when we get
Exactly.
behind the wheel of a car, which is dangerous.
Well,
by the way.
then take raw emotions and cook them up so they're not raw.
Okay, fair enough. I can
cook up raw emotions.
I can cook up a few things that would mellow everybody out. I might add too.
Well, let's not go there. If you like this episode and you want to stop flipping people off, let us know.
Good luck to you.
Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Have questions or comments? Let us know at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. It's the bell that takes us to halftime. And this announcement, we're powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand that Jimmy has ordered and ordered and ordered.
And loves.
And has washed.
Yes. And in fact, there's quite a movement about Mack Weldon's, too, that it is truly the best undergarment I've ever purchased.
Wow.
Yeah,
even after coming out of the wash.
Yeah, better coming out of the wash. We got into the old, when you get a piece of new clothing, you wash it first.
I always wash it.
And I never do.
Yeah, it has ink and all kinds of stuff that gets into your
you get a little
skin.
dye on you, soap comes right off.
There are all kinds of pollutants that are in there, and you want to clean it out there. Plus, it's like cardboard, so you want it to be nice and soft and fluffy when you put it on.
I will tell you, I did not think the Mack Weldons were like cardboard at all when they first come out of the oven. They could have been pre-washed, and I never would have known.
Oh, interesting. Well, what you're wearing right now, if you're listening to this, Mack Weldon is much better. Mack Weldon believes in smart designs, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. It's the winning formula, ladies and gentlemen. Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants you've ever placed on your wonderful body. So get on board with the people who know. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. This show is also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com.
By the way,
yes,
champion.
Champion what?
My underpants today aren't a champion.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, there's a different. There is a difference.
I don't know what to say.
I knew I could get you. I knew I could make it. Do you want to start over?
Yeah. No. This is good. It's one time every 4 years that people in this country, and we're talking about the United States of America, collectively care about soccer. So why is this such a big deal? Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com.
Couple of corrections?
Yes.
Are you still reading billboards?
No.
Okay. 3.4 billion people is a cumulative audience over the month long. Usually 2 billion watch the final.
Okay.
So Robbie's little, one finger salute was probably only seen by a little over 1 billion people.
Okay.
Just want to make sure we're correct.
Okay, even though we're now in a different podcast
yeah,
than the last
whatever.
One. Okay.
I'm sure they've listened to it. You can listen to one right after another after another.
Yes, you can. Okay. So World Cup frenzy is underway.
Love it.
This is your time. This is like the holidays for you.
It is
you're
every 4 years.
Exchanging presents with people, right?
No, but I'm recording every game.
Yeah.
And I will watch every game. Whether I watch it in normal time or in double time, because I can actually watch a soccer game in double time, if you just hit 2 times.
Right.
And it actually moves a lot faster. and you don't get the announcers. Not that the announcers are so much. I enjoy the announcers.
Like that when the announcer goes.
No. Goal! Oh, sorry. Was that our...
Well, yes, he was supposed.
Not that you need unders.
Exactly.
I'm in the room, right?
Exactly. But the reason that this is so fascinating is that, here it is, big news in the United States. Everybody's watching it every 4 years. And my first question to you is, why in the world is this even such a big deal here? Now, I get it. This is when I do pay attention to soccer every 4 years. I grew up with a couple of Brazilian guys, and so I was into soccer.
Part of the blood, part of the culture.
Exactly. Pele was the god at the
My
time.
buddy. I'm friends with Pele.
Well, I don't know if you're friends, but I know
friendly.
You met him. Yes.
I mean, he sent me his love on a ball, and I have a picture of me and him in 94.
Does he wear Mack Weldons?
I don't think Mack Weldon was alive in 1994. Okay. I just want to say.
So, anyway, why is this so important on television here? And the reason is, usually the reason something is very important is because there's a lot of money at stake.
And I think also that the American sports fan likes to see the best of all performances.
Right, but if they
know that the World Cup is featuring the best players in the world's most popular game.
But the only reason you are seeing it on television in the United States is because of money.
And I can tell you this.
If there wasn't money involved, you would have to, they would put it on a DVD and mail it to you, snail mail, and that's how you could watch it. It would not be on television.
Is this for the soccer fund? Because I'm more than willing to go into my wallet and throw out a few dollars.
For those of you who are listening, he just put $2 on the table.
Yep, and
why is that $2 on the table now, Jimmy?
Because when I was growing up, you couldn't see the World Cup on TV unless you paid to go to the music hall in Boston to watch the closed circuit between Argentina and the Netherlands in 1978. In fact, Dan, here's a trivia question.
Yep, go ahead.
The first media credential I ever got was in 1978 to get a pass to go see the final of the World Cup when I was working for Channel 4 in Boston. And I went with my mentor, Jimmy Myers, and we went to the music hall, and he did a story on it. And it was, back then, literally closed circuit via satellite, huge screen in a theater, and people screaming and yelling, Argentina, Argentina. It was the nationalism that everybody's dressed in the country's colors, and
a lot of excitement around it.
And you walk outside the music hall, and it's normal. There's nothing. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. What's going on in there, right? For the most part. And here we are.
All these years later.
And in 1994, I got a media credential for the World Cup and earned a Emmy nomination for our coverage at NECN, I might add, as well. That being said, I gave it respect because I grew up playing the game, and I love the game. And it's one of those things, Dan, that when I travel abroad, I have this in common with every cab driver or bartender or whomever I meet from that country. I can talk soccer with them.
But soccer, the love of soccer alone would get you nowhere here in this country.
And it hasn't.
Although
in fact, it's gotten me to Little Park Media and behind the media.
And what I mean by that is that the reason that there is so much buzz about it, and granted, with the technology we have now, people can access games, multiple ways. But But the reason that this is such a big draw now in this country is because there's so much money involved. And I just want to tick off some things here. So first of all,
throw out the money there.
So $1.18 million. That's the cost of the most expensive ad in the U.S. during the final match of the 2014 World Cup,
which was the last one.
The last one that they had. And this is according to Forbes, that put together some statistics in terms of why is this so big here in the United States and certainly on television. $177 million. That's the ad revenue earned by Univision during the 2014 World Cup per Standard Media Index. ESPN generated $65 million and ABC $47 million. There's more. But wait, there's more. $322 million. That's the combined social media followers for Ronaldo across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Overrated.
So for those of us who may not know,
overrated.
I do know who he is because I think I saw 60 Minutes. It was with him, right?
Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right.
Overrated.
He can do magic with his feet and a soccer ball.
He can do magic with his feet and his soccer ball with his right foot, and he's a great finisher. He's overrated.
Okay.
Lionel Messi, much better.
So he's by the way, I think it was Messi who 60 Minutes did the story on. But nonetheless,
I love Messi.
It shows the popularity. There's a mass following on social media. So again, fanatic, and that equals money. Here are some more stats. 425. This is again according to Forbes. $425 million. That's the cost of Fox for the TV rights in the U.S. to the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. Telemundo is paying $600 million for the Spanish language rights to the events. This is massive stuff that we're talking about here. $1.65 billion. That's the marketing rights revenue for FIFA. That's the body that controls international soccer, or however you want to call it. For the 2015-2018 cycle, is projected to be $1.8 billion over the next 4-year cycle. And one more here. $3 billion, that's television broadcast rights revenue for FIFA for the 2015-2018 cycle. It is expected to hit $3.5 billion for the next 4 years. They're printing money with World Cup on television and through marketing ads and all those things, and that's the reason that you hear and see so much about it in this country.
And congratulations to the combined bid from North America, from the United States, Canada, and Mexico, because they just won the rights for the 2026 World Cup to come back to North America in 2026. $14 billion is what they bid to get it back here. And
it makes sense. I mean, I just gave you all those numbers. They're
still going to make money on it, basically.
They make money on it, and that's why there's this rabid, fight that takes place to try to. I just want a piece of the World Cup in my country, because you realize that there's so much money to be made on television and on all, not just television, but across all technologies when it comes to ads or through Facebook, impressions, however you want to call it and describe it. That's the reason it's such an attractive thing to have in your portfolio, because it makes so much money.
Right, and that's the American way. I mean, that's capitalism. That's free enterprise.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it.
No, it just gives you an idea of the size. And again, the most popular sport, team sport, amongst all nations. There's a 2-year qualifying tournament that goes on in your region around the world that the United States did not make it out of this year.
They're not even in it.
You don't have to say it like that, Dan. I know that they're not in it. I'm extremely disappointed.
Billions of dollars being tossed around, and there's not even, the U.S. isn't even part of it.
I was depressed for 48 hours when they did. Yeah, I really was.
Oh,
because it's such a part of my soul. I'm 60 years old. I played it since I was 7 years old in this country. I was taught by English counselors back at camp in the day. I had an older brother who was captain of his soccer team in high school in 1970. So, I mean, it's been in my life, we used to talk soccer at the dinner table in the 60s and 70s before people even knew what the hell the game was.
Right. Well,
and we had to wait 3 or 4 weeks just to see a repeat of an English Premier game on Channel 2 every week. It has grown so much. And in 94, like I said, I had the privilege of being a media credentialed member and got to interview the likes of Diego Maradona,
have
Pelé.
No idea who that is.
You don't know who Diego Maradona is?
Why would I know?
First of all, you were a news guy, right?
No, but Diego, I mean, isn't that what's that show?
Maradona.
The kids show?
No.
Diego and
I have no idea what you're
talking about.
Backpack?
No,
I have no idea what you're talking about. Your kids are much younger than mine.
What is it? Dora the Explorer. And Diego Garcia. Yep, there you go. That's what I thought you were
Jerry Garcia, not Diego Garcia.
It's Diego. It's a show. It's Diego, yeah.
Diego Maradona.
Okay.
He was an Argentine soccer player, one of the best of all time, and still has perhaps claim to the greatest goal in World Cup history.
Go!
Is that a cue? Did you play it? Okay,
yeah,
whatever.
Man.
But anyway, point being, it was a thrill for me to do that. I had the honor of actually playing with national team players when I was in my 30s, and that was a thrill unto itself because I'm on the same field with some of the U.S. national team players. I got to play against some of the women's soccer players of the United States, Michelle Akers-Stahl, who may be one of the greatest, if not the greatest female player ever to come out of the United States. People you probably never even heard. You haven't heard of Maradona. You're certainly not going to hear about Michelle Akers-Stahl.
Anyway. No, none of those people.
Point being, it's a special time.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it to come back in 2026. Hey, maybe I can get a credential through Little Park Media media in
Maybe.
2026.
Well, look,
will it still be around?
Yes, it will. And it will. You mean will FIFA still be around?
No, I know FIFA will be.
Okay, because I will watch.
Oh, yeah. We should watch a game.
I like competition.
I think you and I should.
No,
I
don't want to watch an entire game.
Yes, you do.
No, it takes forever before there's a goal.
All right.
There's a lot of kicking going on.
First of all, in the opening game, I'm going to date it.
That was rigged.
5-0. What?
What was the ratings, by the way, for that?
You know what? It was over 1 billion people.
A lot of people watched it.
Again, Russia beat Saudi Arabia 5-0, but they are the two lowest ranked teams out of the 32 that are competing in Russia in this tournament. And look, I don't pretend to know everything about every single player in every single nation.
I thought you did.
No, I have a love for the actual game. Well, that's why I want to watch a game with you so I can explain to you some of the intricacies.
No, I know. I understand the game. In
PE, you do?
Of course I do. In
okay.
PE class, I took the
God, you
whatever.
Do not understand the game.
You get red card. You get purple cards.
No, you get yellow and red. And by the way, I'm about to give you a yellow card.
You get navy cards.
You're getting a yellow card very soon. You keep this up.
So we know why it's popular.
I'm bummed about the United States,
lots of money.
I'm going to predict. In fact, I wrote a little blog already about this.
Yes. What are you
2026.
Yes.
That's 8 years from now.
Yeah.
The United States will make it to the Final Four. They will be in the semifinals in America in 2026, and they'll be led by this guy, Christian Pulisic, who's a 20-year-old player.
Yeah, little kid.
He's not a little kid, but he is slight for a 20-year-old player in the Bundesliga, which is the first division of soccer in Germany.
Well, we'll see. And the ratings will be huge then, and there'll be even more billions.
And they'll make more and more money off it. In fact, it will probably be
you get
the biggest sporting event that the United States. It'll be bigger than 94.
Right.
And I also just found out, it looks like the final will be in New York at MetLife Stadium, which I think is perfect. The last one in 94 was in the Rose Bowl. But I believe that the final in 2026 will be in New York. Get your tickets now, because I've already got 2. No.
Oh, yes. There you go. Prediction. We'll come back if the show's still on. We will come back. We'll come back and we'll replay this to see if Jimmy was correct. If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. Have questions or comments? Let us know at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. It's the fourth quarter, ladies and gentlemen. Know what that means? It's time for Bites Behind the Media. If you can't eat the whole meal, we're serving up some appetizers. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media.
What the hell was that?
I'm Dan Lothian.
I'm Jimmy Young, and what the hell was that?
Well, what happened was...
that a trumpet?
Right. That was a trumpet. I just felt led to play the trumpet.
Okay.
Although I do play the trumpet, by the way. Did I say my name? I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young. And now we've said it twice.
That's right. We find the interesting in media, so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. Okay, Jimmy, we've got a bunch of nice little things here.
All right, you start.
You want me to start with this book? So the secret,
start with the book. I've read a little bit about this
book. The Secrets of a
way.
White House Stenographer. It's a tell-all book that is pulling back the curtain on life on the road with the media and President Obama.
And you were there.
I was there. I know who this is.
You do know who this is, but you're not going to tell us.
No. She's gone public.
Okay.
Yeah, her name is, and let me get her name here.
Obviously very close with this woman.
No, I'm not close with it. I am not close with this woman. But the book, first of all, is called From the Corner of the Oval, a Memoir.
So she's there with her little machine?
Right, they're right. Her name is Beck Dory Stein. It's a stenographer's machine. It's a shorthand. Every key is shorthand.
Right.
Every time the president is doing anything that you need to, meetings in the Oval Office, on the road, coming back to talk on Air Force One. Now they're not there doing the little pecking. They'll record it and then go back and input it.
That's what I was wondering. She's actually following him around.
With the
good.
They have other mobile ways of doing it as well. Every single White House briefing, a stenographer is sitting right there, usually right there at my knee, because the CNN spot was the first seat in the front row, and the stenographer sits right there, and
at your knee.
At my Well, not yes.
Because I understand there's some pretty racy stuff in this book.
In front of my knee. Okay. But she is, and it's usually a she. It just happened to be that way.
Yep.
At the White House, always, typing away, copying everything for the record so that you can have things placed in the record for historical purposes or for us to go back and check and see what was said at a meeting that we were not at. And so now,
you haven't read this book.
I have not read the book.
You lived the book, though.
I lived the book.
Yeah.
And so what I do like about it, she's not just, apparently she doesn't really spill names. She uses a fake name, a pseudonym for someone that she apparently was having an affair with while she was on the road. She describes how she kept her door slightly ajar so that a White House senior official could come in and they could enjoy themselves together as adults.
Woohoo! And did they do that with the door ajar, or did they actually close the door after
once he entered?
Because that would be racy now.
But she apparently had this long running thing going there. But she describes its atmosphere of debauchery on the plane. This charter plane that always goes ahead of the president when the president is traveling overseas. Less of that now. There's been a lot of cutbacks.
Because nobody wants to travel with this guy now.
People are going on domestic flight. But it used to be that people, and she describes all the sleeping extras, medicines that people take in order to endure and make it through this 25-hour flight or whatever that we may be taking. So she describes how reporters who are humans are spending all this time away from home, and a lot of hanky-panky is taking place in hotel rooms and on these airplanes.
Now, so let me ask you, as someone who lived this, Dan, does any of this come as a surprise to you?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So, I have stories which I cannot tell.
Right, I understand.
Although
it's too bad.
If you continue to follow this podcast and you prod long enough, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I can prod.
Maybe at some point I can spill a little bit here and there. But I would support everything that I know of. Again, I didn't read the book, just reviews that are out there.
Nothing will surprise you.
Nothing will surprise
me. But
for
the average reader, I see, as a person who knows human behavior, none of that surprises me either.
No. There is a lot of. I will say this. This is my little insight of what I will give, not with full details.
Oh, we're going to prod some more. Let's prod, Steve. Get that prod out.
So it's usually fairly serious when we're heading to an event. If we're going to Asia on an 11-day trip, as we did one time, you're doing research, you're reading over the material. Usually, you get these giant briefing books. If you're going to one of the global summits or something like that, they give you a briefing book, and you start memorizing who some of factoids about the world leaders and about various events that are taking place. So you're spending a lot, and our own network always put out these internal briefing books as well. So you're studying on the long flight to the location. Then you work like crazy around the clock, and apparently, according to her, crazy stuff happens while you're working around the clock. But it's when you hop back on that charter plane, which is usually a 747 or a 777, and you start coming back home, where crazy things begin to happen. Everything from yes, all of that happens.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I'll say it.
Exactly. It all happens on the plane, including a couple of
Many Mile High Club. Was taking place there.
I have names.
Oh my goodness!
I have names of at least 2 people
but
I know.
You're way too respectful to spew those names.
I would never spew the
that.
names. Also, I remember they would even install these disco balls, and there's always speakers set up, and there's music pumping.
People are dancing on the plane.
Dancing on the plane, yeah.
People don't dance on commercial jets, I might add.
These are not commercial.
There's not enough room.
These are they're converted. They're big jets that the executives apparently see.
There's a hot tub on that plane.
There is not a hot tub. You cannot put hot tubs on airplanes. It's against FAA regulations. And that's correct.
Thank you.
You can't even do it on your own private thing. You can't put a hot tub in an airplane.
Well, good. That's why it's in my backyard, and it'll stay there, and no one can take it.
But there's this party atmosphere that does happen on the way back.
Got to blow up steam.
And you blow up
steam. You're human.
Exactly. So anyway, we've gone long. This was more than just a bite.
Yeah,
but I've experienced it. I'm looking forward to reading the book. It's juicy. Yes.
You are going to read the book. Will you read the book?
I would, yeah.
And then come back to us with some anecdotal in saying, yep, this happened. Oh, I remember when that happened. I never knew that. I want that stuff.
Yes. Oh, yeah. If there's something. Now, that would be interesting. If I can find out some new little nugget.
Right.
That would be surprising. Okay. So there are a lot of terms that we kick around all the time, and I just took it for granted that those terms have made their way into the dictionary. But the new Oxford English Dictionary is announcing.
Do they still print the damn dictionary, by the way? Or is it just online?
A virtual one? I haven't seen a dictionary in a while. I presume that they're printing dictionaries.
A certain amount every year.
Stephen, have you seen a
You're
printed
student,
dictionary?
Stephen.
You're a student? No?
Well, no. Stephen, when was the last time you actually looked up something in a dictionary?
Yeah. Never?
Only on .com, dictionary.com.
Okay. There you go. So for wherever this dictionary exists, here are some words that made it in the new update. Imposter syndrome, right? You know what that is?
Yes.
Okay. The other one is spoiler alert. That's now a phrase that made it into the dictionary. I'm not going to tell you what happened in this movie because I want you to go home and watch it.
Okay.
So spoiler alert has now made
No, wait,
it in
those are 2 words, though.
No, I said phrases.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
I
wasn't paying attention.
Yes, I think I said phrases.
I was still worked up by the what was going on in that airplane.
Yeah, that's juicy stuff. Binge watching is another phrase that has made it. And what is your first binge watching show? Or have you ever binge watched?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what it was, and it's actually still on. Blind Spot.
Blind Spot?
Blind Spot, because I watched it on a flight to Italy, because the promo intrigued me enough that I decided to watch the 11 episodes or something.
Oh, right.
And that was interesting. And then I started recording it when I got back and all this, and I've watched it.
So mine is House of Cards.
Oh, yeah, everybody loves it. A lot of people. Game of Thrones is one.
Yeah, I've never watched any of those.
Yep.
But I came, the second season, I think, is when I found out about House of Cards. When I started to, and I clicked on the first episode and I saw it. And the way that it ends, it kind of gets you ready. The next one starts rolling. And it's like, wait a minute, it was such a cliffhanger. I've got to watch the next one. I basically stayed up all night watching it. I didn't finish the whole thing, but then the next day I finished it. I finished it over a 2-day period.
I'm going to say something about binge watching just for a second, because it is a new thing, right? Because because as a consumer, we have access to this through Netflix or any of the other pay-tiered stuff that we can watch. Yeah. There are no commercials in any of these programs. For the most part, there aren't.
Yeah, I guess not. No. I mean, there's not on House of Cards.
Right, so you're not looking at a 60-minute episode or a 30-minute episode. It's either 42 minutes or 22 minutes kind of a thing for a half-hour show. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there as a tidbit.
Yeah.
Just saying. Isn't it easier to watch television
without
commercials?
Exactly.
And now, of course, you can actually pay for the right to get rid of your commercials.
Exactly.
And, of course, now as we learn, thanks to Behind the Media, you're actually going to be able to pick your commercials that you do get to watch if you have to watch commercials.
If you have to watch commercials. So, and the thing about this now that it's in the dictionary is I think it's okay. Like doctors don't have to warn you against binge watching, as binge eating might be a problem.
I get you. Well, I would think that if you get into it enough, I mean, I've heard some stories about people who literally sit on the couch for an entire day
it could be
watching a show, and I'm like, yeesh.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, what else, Jimmy? Do you have anything else? Oh!
The raccoon!
The raccoon! Oh, the cute little raccoon.
The cute little raccoon, Rocky Raccoon. It was St. Paul, Minnesota, right?
Yep. And 20-story office building or something.
I think it was great that people took time out of their day to check on how this poor little raccoon was doing. By the way, this is a wacky raccoon.
I don't even know how it stayed on the wall.
Yeah,
like
there's some serious digging in by those.
But how do
claws.
you dig into a brick wall?
I think they have a sticky.
They must have sticky
paws.
I didn't know.
I think they have sticky paws. I've never seen. I never touched a raccoon.
Raccoons had sticky
never
paws.
touched a raccoon because they walk around with rabies all the time.
Yeah, they can be violent.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
I was shocked.
They're cute though.
But it crawled up and then crawled down and then crawled up. 20 stories, would take a rest sometimes on the windowsill area, and
make an appearance on the as a live raccoon. I mean, I think there was a live feed on this.
There was a PBS station that was kind of doing a blow-by-blow.
Yeah.
Here it is.
And the mayor got involved. The mayor got involved with St. Paul. I love that.
It was crazy. And then the question is, what do we do? Do we dart it? Oh, no, it might fall. We can't catch it. It might die. All of this concern around it, but finally
they got it.
The crazy thing went all the way
up to the roof.
It went all the way to the roof. It's crazy, and the world was glued to it was a global sensation.
Boy,
of this
people,
video.
get a life. Come on.
No, but you know what, Jimmy?
It was fun.
It was fun.
It was an escape from really the other stuff that's going on. I mean, there was a horrible story about what's going on in Yemen right now. Oh my God,
there's some crazy stuff in the world, and it's neat to see that in the midst of all that, there are these insignificant stories. Something like a video of a raccoon scaling a 20-story building, that everyone, has there's no political motivation, although
Right.
I don't know. The raccoon could be a Republican or a Democrat.
I understand he only went up the right side of the building. I don't know if that means anything.
No, you're killing this wonderful story by turning it into politics. But, I think that's why people love these kinds of things. As mindless as it is a chance for people to just like something for what it is. And to,
escape reality.
And you can pull a lot of things out of it. Persistence, you could, kids, talk to your kids about how don't give up. It may be a tower in front of you, but you can scale it.
Remember that raccoon.
And sometimes you just have to rest a little bit before you continue to climb.
Did the raccoon ever get named?
I think someone did, because someone ended up starting like a Twitter handle for it as well. So it did get
Oh, my God.
What's
the raccoon have millions of followers, right?
Yes.
Forever.
Oh, I know. I need to buy some followers from the raccoon. But anyway, I think it's a wonderful story. It's we've talked in the past how people have been going to the lifestyle kind of channels,
to make themselves feel better.
Themselves feel good, yeah. And so this is just another one of those. In the midst of some of the craziness in our world, it's great to just watch a raccoon climb a building.
And Rocky Raccoon, wherever you are, you've got company.
Yes, sir. What a great way to end this podcast.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. We know you enjoyed it because we enjoyed it. Like it, share it. Please keep listening on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, and our producer and social media guru, Alex Barth, I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
And now you know what's behind the media.